Hi, everybody. Welcome to the ATDev Podcast. We are joined today by Dr. Grace O'Connell, who was an integral part of ATDev's formation. And we're just so excited to have you here today, Grace.
Thanks, Owen. It's great to see you guys both again. It's nice to be
Mm,
here too.
yeah, thank you. So I'd love just for our listeners, if you could maybe just talk a little bit about your background and your academic interests.
Sure. My background in terms of like how I got to where I am right now, or just a little bit about what I do right now.
Yeah, just I think just kind of in general, we're really just trying to show kind of how interdisciplinary assistive technology is and
Sure.
how it touches a lot of different, and we're really interested in just people's journeys to finding assistive technology.
Sure. Um, my background, well, I'll start with I'm a professor in mechanical engineering at UC Berkeley. And my basic science research is really focused on tissue mechanics. So for the past 15, maybe closer to 20 years now, I've been doing research of looking at the spine and understanding how the spine changes with age and with disease. My background that has like pushed me more towards assistive technology and looking at that was really developing the course that I teach, Designing for the Human Body, which was something that I created based out of client needs, if you will, the clients and the customers being the students, and
Yeah.
students really wanting a course that talked a lot about external prosthetics.
Mhm.
And I wanted to be able to have a course that taught more about the internal prosthetics. So it was a blend of those two things, of my background and the student demands, that really created that course. Um, and I guess my academic interest along with that is to get more students engaged with medtech, just knowing about medtech, specifically for mechanical engineers, because a lot of
Yeah.
them come in thinking automotive industry, and seeing how they can apply their knowledge to medical devices in general, broadly speaking.
That's great. And I think that definitely tracks your story as well, Todd, because you have automotive experience as well.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's so many people go that direction, and you don't realize how, as a mechanical, you don't have to be a biomedical engineer or a bioengineer to be in the medical device space. We need mechanical, electrical, software, everything else. And so I think, yeah, the course you build at Berkeley Grace is a great way to get all types of engineers exposure to that fact, and to get more people interested in the space.
Yeah. And I would say, even for the bioengineering students, I've found that a lot of students will go into bioengineering thinking this is the discipline that I need to go into for med tech devices, to
Mhm.
do prosthetic devices, where I think a lot of companies rely heavily on the mechanical engineering background of it. And so I've gotten that feedback from students too. All the feedback I usually get from students really helps to shape the next year, the next iteration of the course, and how it continues to progress.
Yeah, and that course is how Todd and I met originally, which is just a really, really cool story. So I was a mentor for the course, talking about some personal needs I had had around accessing physical therapy. And Todd, as part of his master's program, was taking the course
Yep.
and ultimately decided to, yeah, help address some of those issues through robotics. And I think, that's just really, really grateful that you had that course, Grace. And, this has just been, I think it turned out really well.
Yeah, I think we might have met through Drew through Enable Tech,
Yeah.
and I used to look for external clients, and you were one of the external clients for the 2019 class. Um, and one of the things that's happened with the course, growing pains, if you will. I used to spend over like most of my summer looking for external clients like yourself for these projects. And the year that you were a client and Todd took the class, there were about 72 students in the class. This year it was over 100 students, and I capped it at 100,
Wow.
with
That's
over 35
fantastic.
on the wait list. So I can no longer find enough external clients. So I've kind of given that to the students to find and encourage them to talk to their grandparents or people in their family just to get that exposure of designing outside of yourself.
Yeah, I think that's great. You have to put that on the students as well. I mean, it was, I'm happy Owen was already there because we met, but after we spun up ATDev, that was a huge part of what we did, which is get out and talk to people. And I think incorporating that into the class, even before you started in the engineering, just getting to really understand somebody's problems and building the skills of being able to approach somebody and, politely understand what they need so that then we could start working on the engineering side of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a great learning opportunity. That's a great idea
Yeah.
too. Yeah, crowdsourcing, finding those people as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I've really learned from you guys is a lot about human-centered design, and really, very from the very beginning, incorporating the end user of the problem that you're trying to solve, rather than just having engineers work in a vacuum. I was wondering, maybe could you talk a little bit about your philosophy around human-centered design?
Sure. Yeah, I see students creating a lot of things that are cool to design, and I see this generally with engineers. And so I really try to get them to think about this idea of human centered design, where you have the end user or people that are going to be in that eco space. You know their viewpoint on things, what are their pain points as much as possible, so you can actually address the problem and not what you perceive the problem to be from an outsider perspective. Um, and that has shown, research has shown that that improves acceptance of a new product and overall success of the product. So really trying to get them to see that in the classroom. It's definitely difficult in a 14-week semester to get all of these concepts across, because I think you really get that through practice and going through it and seeing it yourself. And also your own failures where you realize, oh, I designed something that nobody wants. I wish I knew this in advance. I guess I could have talked to more people earlier on.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, so after we, met in your class, we went to the NSF I-Core program,
Mm-hmm.
which I think takes a similar approach about getting to know your end user, but from a business perspective, which
Yeah.
is, equally useful.
So that's actually something that I have a couple of guest lectures. I think I had some guest lectures in 2019 as well.
Oh yeah.
Um, the last guest lecture this year is Darren Cook from Skydeck.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, so he'll be talking about Skydeck, and he does the NSF I-Core at Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
So I told students very early on, my goal here is to let you know about medtech, how you could apply your engineering skills, and hopefully encourage more of you to go into this field and this discipline, whether it's you start your own company, you work for a big company, or you go into academia and you do research. I'm agnostic. I don't care. but there's a lot of big challenges in human health that I think it would be great that if we had more engineers focused on that, on solving those big problems. So he's going to talk about that for the students that are thinking more entrepreneurial aspects of things and want to move in that direction. So I'm excited for that guest lecture for sure.
That's great. Yeah, he's the perfect person to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Darren Kirk was actually one of our advisors when we went to Skydeck, so
Yeah.
we hope to have him on the podcast at some point as well.
Oh, great. Yeah, I know Skydeck is really interested in supporting more biotech devices as well and growing that field here, which works for me because that kind of works in my bigger picture and vision for education and mechanical engineering here at Berkeley.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Scott just brought in batch 19, and Sean, the head of the fund, has already put me in touch with a couple of the new bio companies to chat. When we first got into the program, they put us in touch with previous companies who'd gone through, and now we're in a position where we've moved a little bit past that and we can give some advice back. But also, I find every time I talk with other entrepreneurs, we learn so much. Even people who are just getting started, they're looking at a different space. They're looking at a slightly different reimbursement model or a different engineering problem. And they're always very passionate about the space. And so, talking to people who are that passionate, you always learn something.
That's great. Yeah, you're already becoming the more senior startup company.
Slowly but surely, I'm trying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you talked a little bit about, kind of your broad vision for, assistive technology and kind of, like from your perspective, what does the future of assistive technology look like for people, with disabilities and also people that are elderly and trying to, age in place with dignity? What are some of the things that excite you?
Yeah. So, speaking of the elderly, I think that's one of our big societal challenges that we're going to have to be dealing with, in the next 20 years or so. By 2030, we expect to have 1 billion people that are over 65 years old.
Wow.
So we're living longer, which is great. And this is a global phenomenon. But that also means it comes with its challenges, its medical challenges. And how do we make sure that people can have independence and mobility, so higher quality of life for longer? Specifically in terms of assistive technology, I'm not as restricted, I would say, in terms of just assistive technology. What excites me is, more broadly speaking, trying to create more innovation on campus here, creating like a center, if you will, where students come together and think about developing devices, because we have so much on campus resources in terms of the entrepreneurial aspect with Haas. I think we have all of these nice elements, and then just being able to create a space focused on med tech, assistive tech under one roof, and getting students to be able to talk about that, because there's specific challenges with that you just talked about with the human-centered design aspect of it. That's really important when you're talking about patients or people with disabilities, especially if you are designing for somebody that has a disability that you don't have, right? I think we need to think about how do we connect with those communities and not just tell them what the solution is. And then there's the challenges too with reimbursement, FDA, the unique challenges of just that particular field. So I think having groups that are working together that can go through these challenges at the same time, or have mentors there, similar to SkyDeck, that's what I envision. How do I do that in engineering, mechanical engineering?
I really love that, and I think it touches on the interdisciplinary nature of, I think really high quality engineering. It's not done in a vacuum. It really, you need to take into account all of those things that you talked about. So that's, very inspiring.
Yeah.
Thanks. Just got to get the center off the ground.
I was going to say, I would love to learn, as that starts moving, we'd love to be part of that in any way we can. Talking with students, brainstorming, we'd love to have had something like that when we were there. But if we can do anything to support it retroactively, that would be great.
Yeah, I will definitely keep you in the loop. Yeah. Right now I'm working with faculty to get faculty on board, and then, I'll start to try to talk to development. So for the alumni that had more money than you, you're still working on getting the company going.
Yeah, exactly. Someday we'll sponsor, right? Someday.
Yeah, maybe we'll have a ATDev lecture hall or something.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then, I know that you love to do climbing as well. I'd love to say, how did you get into that, and what types of climbing do you like to do?
I actually got into that as an undergrad. In college, I needed a summer job, and University of Maryland had an outdoor climbing wall. So I just applied to work there. And by the end of the summer, I started dating a regular that was climbing there, who is now my husband. so,
Oh,
so that's how I continued to climb, because that's our family activity, if you will.
I never heard that part of the story. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we've been together since 2002. So you can do the math.
That's great.
Yeah. And the kind of climbing I do, I only really do bouldering. So that's a type of climbing where you climb without ropes. You have these foam mats underneath you. So when you fall, because you are going to fall, you can protect your ankles and your knees. But that also means I don't go up as high. I probably go 10, 15 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
So it's a style of climbing that's meant to have short problems, but more technical problems, so more difficulty.
Mm.
I have a horrible fear of heights. So when I've done climbing, I've enjoyed bouldering much more than top roping.
Yes. And it's weird because on top rope, you have extra gear.
You're probably safer. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But that rational side of my brain is not working when I'm 30 feet up on the wall. I'd much
I've
rather
heard
be
it from a
15
lot
feet.
of boulders that they have this fear of heights, but they boulder and it's fine. And it only comes, I have that fear when I'm climbing like 15 feet or above. I start to get a little bit nervous, which makes you make really dumb mistakes higher up if you can figure out how to breathe and calm yourself down. So I actually kind of like that part too, putting myself in that state of stress and then seeing that I can get through it and be successful.
Yeah.
And if I hurt myself, which I have many times, I'm not going to die.
Yes, exactly.
Climbing on ropes,
Exactly.
there is that risk of death for the high wall stuff, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, Grace, thank you so much for your time today. It's really always a pleasure to connect with you, and thank you for everything that you've done for us and that you continue to do. And please, as Todd said, keep us posted on your endeavors and let us know if we can help in any way.
I will. Yeah, it's great to always connect with you too. I look forward to hearing more about where your the reflex device is going and how that's working out at the VA.
Awesome. Good to see you, Grace.
Yeah, nice to see you too.